bet it's a bullet gonna get the last laugh.
Tekken Talk Live will be happening a little bit later today, but I wanted to take this time and just talk about some of the things we were already told about, some of the things that we are still worried about, concerned about, but also just generally what season two could be, because I do think there's a lot of potential in it. We all know season one didn't go the best, but you know what people also say is that they knew season one wasn't going to be the best because every Tekken prior has had time to develop and get better in a arcade state. So Tekken 8 skipping that, a lot of those problems that would be patched out in arcades made its way into the console version. Now, me personally, I don't think that's the best excuse because, you know, if you're doing away with arcades and you're just going on to do a full release, then you should make sure that those problems aren't there to begin with, right? Because when you're charging people upwards of 120 for collectors and, you know, premium versions of the game, expectations come with that. So them skipping arcades and going to console doesn't mean that they can still allow those problems that would have been fixed in arcades to exist in consoles. In my opinion, they should have solved it beforehand. But we're beyond that point, right? But now we're hoping that season two will finally restore order. And what gives me hope is the first Tekken Talk, they acknowledged a lot of these things. You know, at times I was very upset, I was very angry, but once all of the emotions faded, I started to think like, what if this is unintentional? What if they didn't expect the things that we're doing now to be possible? And they basically said that it's like, you know, they realized that they pushed defense too far in the back and offense took the lead, you know, and just hearing them say that really gave me hope and it really made me feel good about the future of Tekken because a lot of people ask me, do you think season two will get better? And I think it already has just based off of what the developers have said about what season one was, right? Acknowledging that something is a problem is the first step to fixing said problem. And they acknowledged it in Tekken Talk 1. We'll see more of what they have to say in Tekken Talk 2. Now, one thing that I think is really important to talk about is Anna Williams, and more so in response to what happened in season one. Season one DLC, some people say it's good, some people say it's bad. In my opinion, I think it could have been much better. Not only in terms of the characters that we were given, I think some of those characters should have been base roster, some of those characters should not have been in the game. But then if you just talk about their personalities being altered and being worse, Tekken 7 Lydia, far better. Tekken 7 Eddie, far better. Heihachi is just Heihachi with a few more retcons. And then Clive, I didn't know anything about the guy before Tekken 8 added him, but I do like his character, his design, but his gameplay is pretty obnoxious. Now, this is where we have to talk about all of the DLC's personalities being obnoxious, or gameplay being obnoxious. Eddie 333, you know, I'm happy that 33 bot made a mockery of the character and also the game, because I think that's what made the developers realize that they can't do that, because they tried a little bit of it with the 4222 Lydia, but then that was once again mocked again. And with Heihachi, all of that like 2223 shenanigans is gone. Now he does just autopilot through stances and you get like a stance 50-50 Heihachi, which kind of didn't exist in past games. And that's what I mean when you talk about the loss of personality. Anna is said by everyone to be the 50-50 character. So it makes sense for her to be 50-50, but the way that she does 50-50s is not like Eddie, Lydia, and Heihachi. So if she also blends in with them, that will still be a lost in personality in my opinion. So I hope with season 2 DLC and Anna, I hope that they don't get lost in all of the stacks and stalls and stances and mid electrics and guard breaking 50-50s. We have to guess where if you guess wrong, either option leads to a full combo. All of that is way too ridiculous. And I hope that the developers pull back on that, not only in terms of the DLC, but a lot of characters do that, and it really is just takes away what Tekken is supposed to be. I was once ranting about Power Crushes. I think I was fighting against a Kuma player, and someone asked me, do you think that Power Crushes is basically like a weaker version of the Flash? Even now, I still don't know if I would say yes or no. There is some similarities there. Obviously, the Flash is far stronger, but it's an interesting question because Tekken has these moves that basically stops the person's offense, right? The fact that the developers are removing Power Crush heat engagers shows that they realize that Power Crushes has gone too far. Now, a lot of pro players will tell you that in Tekken 7 they weren't really like used that often. In more casual, they were definitely used. Power Crush wall bounces and stuff like that, right? But I wonder, with the heat aspect of it being removed, how will they be used in season 2? Because going back to Yoshimitsu, there's literally no reason to use his power crush because it does no heat, it does no launcher, it does no wall bounce, it does nothing. So you kind of just forget that the move exists. And I wonder if other characters will that happen as well. The next thing that I want to talk about is whether or not the developers will truly nerf the top tiers. First off, I wonder if they will do that because we saw in Tekken 7 they were very unwilling to nerf characters. Like Paul Phoenix only got stronger and stronger and stronger. And me personally, bro, I don't like that. I don't like top tier characters. You know, I play Yoshimitsu. I get a lot of flack for playing Yoshimitsu, but this is a question that I ask for everyone, right? Did we show up to Tekken and pick our characters because they were powerful? Or did we pick our characters because we like them, right? Like, I am not interested in my character being powerful at all. I could care less. It's not why I play Tekken. I just wonder if the developers will really nerf the top tiers because a lot of people are asking for it, or will they give certain characters a slap on the wrist and in season 2 you'll still have the same powerful character but just doing things a little bit differently. This is something that Tekken never really did, where players want the developers to flip the tier. It's like literally top tier, bottom tier are now top tiers. And with Tekken 7 that never happened, but in Tekken 8 will it happen? You know, the reason why I asked that question is because you then have to ask, okay, if we are going to flip the tier list, if we are going to nerf the top tiers, what do we do about the low tiers? Who are the low tiers? Who needs buffs? With all of those questions thrown into the mix, you then have to take into consideration that the developers are buffing defense. They realize that defense has been pushed too far in the back and they're trying to make it more possible. When I hear this, I think about the tracking strings. I wonder if they're going to nerf characters' moves that on paper has no tracking, no homing trail, but then they're doing full 360s and tracking. Will that be done away with in season 2, or will it remain? Final thing I'll talk about is the overhauling of the rank system. This was so interesting because overnight the developers activated Tekken Pro's matchmaking. They didn't explain why they did it. They didn't explain why the old system was bad. They just did it. And players was upset and have been upset for over a year. And the developers just was like, okay, we're going to get rid of it. And I hope in the Tekken talk they explain what the old system was, why it was bad, why it was replaced by Tekken Prowess, why they now feel Tekken Prowess is bad, and why they're replacing it with a new system and what that new system entails. Because I know they talked about it, but they didn't really explain it. And sometimes I feel like these explanations would give the players a lot of understanding and maybe it would clear up some misconceptions. I also like how they're getting rid of the 3-loss penalty and they're rewarding players for going on these long win streaks. You go on a 5, 6, 7, 8 win streak and then lose 2 times and all of your progress is gone. It's not that we don't want to be punished for our losses. It more so turns into the game is wasting our time. When you're winning a majority of the matches, but yet you are making no progress, you're wasting your time. It's just that simple. And I like that the developers are looking at that, identifying that, and trying to find a solution. But then also with the top 8 ranks of God, the pro players have been asking for this for a very long time. And I'm interested to see how strict of a system this is, because Street Fighter added this feature into the game as well, and there was pro players who was achieving it on day 1. Now that may be a thing for Tekken 8 as well, but I would like to see over time where it evens out and you see the pro players really struggling to maintain their ranks and also achieve the ranks. If everyone can get it and then maintain it, piece of cake, it's a failure of a system. You should see pro players one day they're God Infinite, the next day they're God 3, and they have to battle back and forth to maintain. But all in all, I am interested to see what they say in the next Tekken Talk. They're going to be focused a lot on gameplay, on balancing, and I'll definitely make a follow-up video talking about everything there. But in this video, I just want to highlight some of the things that they said already, but think about how they can be pushed forward to make the game better.